Morning, everybody, and anybody out there on social media. Apologise for the late start. We've had a few little issues in here this morning, but they've been sorted out. So, welcome to our general meeting for the month of October. We've got a pretty full agenda, and we've got leave of absence and apologies. Note that the Mayor will be an apology, no other leave of absence. So we'll move on to prayers, and I don't believe unfortunately, we don't have any representatives from any ministries here this morning. So we'll move straight on to the recognition of our traditional owners, and Councillor Duff.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. Thank you.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Any declarations? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think there are a couple. Sarah, Mark, were you going to put the one on the screen? Just in relation to the item regarding Adam Park, I've received some legal advice. CEO Mark, if you'd like to provide that.
Okay. Councillor asked the question
Sorry, I'll bring this across.
if we have children, and this actually applies to several staff as well, and these discussions going forward for Adam Park, if we have family members attending the school, does that constitute a declarable conflict of interest? Section 150 EO, and we'll note this in the minutes, interests that are not declarable conflicts of interest. A councillor who has a conflict of interest in a matter does not have a declarable conflict of interest in the matter if the conflict of interest arises solely because the councillor or related party to a councillor has an interest in an education facility, provider of childcare service, student or former student or parent or grandparent of a student of the facility or service. So we'll just note that one for Adam Park in the minutes so that it's clear.
Thank you, CEO Mark. Also just would like to raise a declarable conflict of interest in relation to 15.2, the South Burnett Aquatic Centre increase to electricity costs, and 15.4, the Kingaroy W.J. Lang Memorial Swimming Pool increase to electricity cost. The contractor that council uses, Summer Aquatics, actually employs my sister-in-law, Tamara Shoemaker, who is a swimming instructor for them. And as we do have business operations together, partnerships together, I would rather leave the room and not be present while we discuss those matters. I think they were the only ones I had listed here. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Shoemaker. Are you here to do the morning prayers, sir? No? Yeah. Are you here to... Oh, sorry. No, I was just waiting on someone else to turn up. So, yeah, I'm giving you credit for something else, mate. Way above a reporter. No, sorry about that. Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay, so conflicts of interest there. Councillor Shoemaker has declared those. We're happy to move forward. Any other declarations of interest, councillors, before we keep going? Don't believe so. Deputations and petitions, we don't have any. So we move on now to 7.1, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of September 2023. Can we get this screen's not working? All right, so we'll move over this way. Okay, so the officer's recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of September 2023 be received. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Comments, questions, anything before we go to the vote? We go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 7.2, the officer's minutes of the Corporate Risk and Audit Advisory Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2023. The officer's recommendation that the minutes of the Corporate Risk and Audit Advisory Committee meeting held on the 14th of September 2023 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter. Councillor Erkin, seconder. Questions? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 7.3, found on page 39. Minutes of the Corporate Risk and Audit Advisory Committee meeting held on the 5th of October 2023. The officer's recommendation that the minutes of the Corporate Risk and Audit Advisory Committee meeting held on the 5th of October 2023 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henson. Seconder, Councillor Erkins. Comments? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, move on to 8.1. We have some notices of motion back. We now go to, what do we got up there? So, the notice of motion that the South Burnett Regional Council, in partnership with Baido, form a South Burnett Drought Support Committee to collect and distribute donations for farmers struggling with drought across our region. Councillor Duff, I believe this is yours. I'll hand over to you to present that.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just wanted to move this motion and that the committee members be Ms. Torbadesso, she's the new General Manager of Baido, Alan Broom from Baido, Wendy Thorsburn, Baido, Bryce Edwards, our Council Disaster Resilience Officer, myself, Portfolio Rural Resilience and Chair of the Council Disaster Recovery Committee, and Councillor Scott Henson, Vice Chair of the Council Disaster Recovery. I'd like to move that motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Erkins. Okay, we'll open it to the floor. Councillor Duff, you present.
Yes, so I attended the Disaster Resilience Roadshows at Cumbria and Mergen, and I've been approached by service clubs wanting to give funds to help farmers in drought locally. And when I raised it at the Disaster Resilience Roadshows at Cumbria and Mergen, there was consensus that there is a need for a point of contact for donations to be distributed locally. Baido is willing to manage the funds and they can put them through a charity called Give It to enable tax-deductible status for donations. The plan would be to purchase mostly vouchers with donations to support local businesses and generally at local produce stores, and wherever possible to let the produce stores handle the vouchers as they will know the farmers most in need. Whether it's donations of hay, fodder or in-kind donations, this committee would also manage how that is rolled out. The local service providers have specific guidelines that limit their ability to distribute and manage funds or in-kind support that is specifically for farmers in drought. So when we talked at the road shows about some of the other organisations doing it, they said that they were limited because mostly theirs comes in and they distribute to whoever. It can't necessarily be just South Burnett, but this would be just South Burnett focused. So that was what the intent of this whole committee would be, to be managing and distributing funds to only South Burnett farmers. So that's the motion. So I'd like to, I'm hoping I get the support of the chamber. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I actually do not like these notices of motion coming to a general meeting. I prefer them to come to a standing meeting where we can discuss them in a more informal process. But with regards to this, I just don't see why something like this. I know there was one a while ago, and I do not, to me, it was just a group of people sitting around a table telling them what they can do for everyone. But I just feel that something like this could probably be incorporated within the Disaster Recovery Committee, is what I'm thinking.
I'd just like to answer that. Yeah, so I am the chair of the Disaster Recovery Committee, so that's what we'd like to see happen, is to get this happening, because otherwise there's no point of contact. So this is a single point of contact we've got, and also the other one is the tax deductible status. So that way the money would come through. Baido would be able to do it through the Give It program, and so that's why as the chair of that committee, and that's why I wanted Councillor Henson on it as well, because he's the deputy chair, we would manage that through that process.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Councillor Duff, and certainly recognise, farmers and families out there are really struggling at the moment, and we do need to do something about it. I don't disagree with the intent of your motion. I actually think having local people at the table making local decisions about how and who we support during difficult times is really, really important. My only concern is that the Red Earth Community Foundation actually was established from these very roots. The Red Earth actually was that Red Earth Community Foundation was actually established, as you know, because you would have been at the table at that time, following the millennial drought in the early 2000s, and then in 2011 and 2013 during the floods. And it was established as a vehicle that could harness the challenges that were being faced and actually support local people during those times. Just looking at the cohort of people on your committee, I'm just concerned about the level of the governance framework that would certainly support this. And I'm also concerned about the cross-section of community that I think we do need to bring to the table, which would include certainly the Red Earth Community Foundation, because I don't see the need in working through an external charity like Give It when you could use that foundation. I'm also aware that when Give It receive requests from the South Burnett community, they actually go to the Red Earth Community Foundation and partner with them to deliver on that. So I think there is some real exciting merit in what you're trying to do here. I just think the cross-section of people brought to the table needs to be bigger. I would like to see service clubs engaged in this, you know, our Lions clubs across the region working hard every weekend, our Rotary clubs. We've got so many service clubs really dedicated to the well-being of our community, and I would like to see some of those service clubs at the table, because I think there's an awesome opportunity to partner with them and coordinate some of that drought support rather than, you know, everyone doing different things. And I'm also very mindful of the business groups, and you've mentioned in here the purchase of mostly vouchers to support local businesses. But I certainly know during tough times when our farmers are doing it tough, our towns are doing it tough, and I would like to see some representation from our various business groups across the region on this committee, because I think they offer levels of support that perhaps you know, we could harness during these times. So I like the idea. I'm a little concerned about supporting this motion in its current form, and would prefer to see something come back maybe with some more detail around the governance, the partnerships, and the committee's terms of reference, because I think that's really important. And I'm unclear whether this is actually a council committee or a BIEDO committee. So there's obviously administration around that, CEO Mark, that I imagine we have to allocate resources to. If it's our committee, it's probably just a question for you in terms of how traditionally a committee like this would work, and how we may actually be able to make something happen. Because I don't disagree with the intent. I think it's wonderful to collaborate and support during what are going to be really tough times.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Councillor Duff. We'll go to the other council. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you, through you, Mr Chair. Probably one of the things that I'm concerned about when Councillor Shoemaker said about adding more people, I think most service clubs, they're already very busy doing what they do. Sometimes you can make a committee much too big, and what happens, it ends up nothing really gets done. There's lots of talk happens, but nothing gets done. Just looking at this, I can see that there are, 3 representatives from BIEDO, 3 representatives from council, and it's actually, from what I can see, it's just a matter of us forming something that gives a platform for this funding to be able to be distributed. We're not looking for this. This committee is not going to be raising funds. They're going to encourage people to donate funds and establish that. But I don't think it is. I think that by opening it up and putting too many people on it, you're putting probably a job on for people who are already probably fairly busy with their own fundraising or their own activities. And as I said, sometimes too many can make it too unwieldy. Also, the drought is here now. People are suffering now. Cattle are dying now. People have no hay. They can't feed. To wait until we get something worked out and just invite other people in, I think we're just putting off the inevitable. I'd be more happy to see it happen now. With this committee, once they got going, if they felt that they needed more people to come onto it, then I think it would leave it up to them to organise that. So I think I would be in support of the motion. Thank you.
Just in regards to community groups and all that, the Lions Club today are up in Wandai, Mergen area delivering hay and all that sort of stuff. So they've spent $18,000 on delivering hay. So things are happening already in the community. As Councillor Shoemaker has alluded to, like, we don't want to see duplication. And if there's already a system there, can we work with that and all that? And I'll come back to you, Councillor, to finish up. So we'll just get the other comments. We'll go to Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Duff. There is a lot happening out there, and as Councillor Jones, or Acting Mayor, beg your pardon, has said, Lyons is doing a wonderful job out there. There's stuff happening out there, and there's people been knocking on doors. I'm sure there wouldn't be a councillor in this room that hasn't passed a hay truck on the road in the last couple of weeks, or a water truck. They just run off their feet. Yeah, look, this is something that's simple. It's really simple. I mean, put it in place and you can work with it from there. There's already things happening out there. Perhaps it's just a little bit of direction along the way. If we continue down this path, and Councillor Erkins, the way you spoke before, it sounded just like the state and federal governments. They'll just sit back and let us do all the work. So, yeah, look, there's no rain.
Thanks, Councillor Henshin. Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you. I actually agree with Councillor Shoemaker's idea of having Red Earth at the table with this one, because she was there from the start as well. So I'd like to see Red Earth being involved in this. So I probably wouldn't support the motion as it stands, but I would support the motion if we could add Red Earth in there as well. And I really would like to know how it's actually going to run. Whether council actually has the funds for our staff members to attend, and obviously the reason they're attending is to possibly take the minutes, and I don't know whether we've got that funding for them to do that, because this is completely separate group to the actual disaster recovery committee. If this was being done within that committee, when that committee meets, it's a different story, but you're talking about a separate group that meets separately with the disaster resilience officer. Therefore, that would be extra time out of his work, out of his day, to actually go to this meeting and write up the minutes and disseminate them out. And I just feel that, is this a double up on meetings? You've already got it should be done. If you're going to have this, it probably should be done at the disaster recovery committee itself. And I'm thinking it probably should most definitely include Red Earth, because they are local, they know the area, and they already are a charity status within our local community that was formed for our local community.
Councillor Duff, I'll come to you for an explanation. I'll give you the right as well to... I'll let you speak now if you want. No, I'll let you speak again now to answer some of the questions, and then I'll give you the right to reply as well.
Yeah, sorry. So Councillor Potter, Red Earth does not have tax deductible status. You have to go either through FRRR or GIVIT the same. So Baido would be just going through GIVIT. So so that's a problem with Red Earth. I'm happy to have someone from Red Earth on there. The only reason I went down this path was because we've already got the disaster resilience officer on there, and he would handle the governance side of it. I've spoken to CEO Mark about using Baido as the going through GIVIT, because we were going to go through the hospital board. But when I suggested going through Baido and GIVIT, CEO Mark was supportive of that. And I've been approached by the service clubs. It was actually Peter Coombs who asked me to get this happening. Peter Coombs said, you need to get this drought committee happening so that we can donate to this group. And we know that it's going to go directly to South Burnett farmers. And he was actually very much in favour of getting the actual funds rather than in-kind donations as hay, because you don't know what can happen. And he actually said to me he was concerned about us continuing, like everyone, giving hay, because up in where he came from, they actually lost cattle from hay that was people trying to do the right thing, but the hay wasn't. It actually was mouldy, so he was more wanting to make sure that we handled funds like donations and somewhere for the service clubs to donate. They'll do the fundraising, but they want a central point, and that's why I actually started this was with Peter Coons from the Lions Club who suggested it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to be really clear. I'm fully supportive of the motion and the idea of bringing people together. I'm really mindful that during the last drought, it was our service clubs who did step up and they provided an enormous amount of support to our community. And I do agree, we need a coordinated approach and a way to invest those funds locally. My concern is around the governance framework. Who owns this committee? Who's responsible for it? Who's going to quit all of those funds and be responsible for management of those funds? Now, my preference would be Red Earth Community Foundation because they are our local community foundation. And there's been a lot of work done in terms of growing their Red Earth Futures Fund and the framework and the governance structure behind that. I still haven't had my question answered about how this will actually work. And don't get me wrong, Councillor Erkins, I don't wish to complicate things. I just simply don't want to duplicate things, and I genuinely want to see collaboration in the region. So, CEO Mark, have we had a committee like this before? Do we need, how do we progress this? Because I don't disagree. I think we need to bring people together and support our local community, and that needs to be targeted, and we need to inform, local people need to inform that. But there's not much more than 2 paragraphs here, and from a governance point of view, we are ultimately responsible if we establish a committee. So I'd just like some of your ideas around how we might actually be able to get this to work.
Okay, I'm not sure I can answer all your questions, Councillor, but to my mind, and it's a Baito committee, it's not ours. So we're not collecting the money, we're not acquitting the money, we're not dispersing the money. So actually, while we're just sorting out one point, with Councillor Potters and your both comment, do we want to add a dot point in there that a representative of Red Earth can be added to the committee? So that's just we go from there. So to my mind, it would be an advisory committee. The only suggested change I would make to its membership is probably my preference would be not to have Bryce on it. So take Bryce off, and then the administration, because it's a Baito committee, it's an advisory committee way I understood it, and happy to be corrected, Councillor, but all we're doing is assisting and advising Baito on how to collect, disperse and throw the money around as it needs to be. So we've got at the end of the day, it'll be a Baito responsibility for who runs it and who quits it.
Well,
So
yeah.
can I ask
Yep.
a supplementary question? Why we as a council would make a decision for the Baito board to establish a committee like this? Or is the motion more saying that we would partner in the committee, but at the end of the day, the Baito board would make the decision. I understand, Councillor Duff, you sit on that board, you would make the decision to establish the committee and then seek council to be part of it. Like, I don't actually understand the relevance of the motion.
It's a signalling intent that we're willing to partner and advise Baito. That's pretty much what this is. It carries.
But we don't own it.
We don't own it, no, and don't intend to own it.
Yep, no, fully supportive.
So, just before I go to Councillor Hanchin, my question will be then, if we put Red Earth on there, and listening to Councillor Shoemaker and Councillor Potter, that they want Red Earth to be the lead, how is that going to pan out with Baito and Red Earth members? On top, we approve this, and so we add Red Earth. I've got some councillors that want to see Red Earth take the lead. I've got other councillors wanting to take Baito. What is that going to create?
To be clear, not take the lead,
No,
but be
yeah.
part of actually funding, be
Right.
part of distributing the funding, because that's the whole ethos of the
Okay, so
community
you want,
foundation.
yeah. So you want two groups that do nearly exactly the same thing in the community to work together. That's what we're looking for. That's right. Okay, everyone's on the same page there? Beautiful. Righto. Okay, Mr. Councillor Enchin?
Yeah, just quickly on a comment Councillor Duff you made about fodder. In this day and age, every load of fodder has to have a statutory declaration with it. There'll be some unscrupulous operators out there that'll try and sell some shitty lovegrass hay. There's absolutely no value in it whatsoever, but I'd encourage people to make sure they get that document when they get that. Thank you, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. So one last question or suggestion I'll put to everybody is if we want Boyedo, Red Earth and Council, is it we're taking out Bryce Edwards from the Council? Is it fair to have 2 representatives from Red Earth, 2 from Boyedo and 2 from Council to give equal representation on that board? So we would probably, my suggestion would be Wendy Thorsburn, as is Mistral is the CEO and Alan Broome is a wonderful man that knows the community. So just a suggestion there. So if I would suggest take Wendy Thorsburn from Boyedo out, Bryce Edwards from Council, and put 2 Red Earth representatives in there that wish to accept them. Just a suggestion to make it equal representation across the board. Thoughts on that?
Oh, sorry.
Just-
yeah,
yeah.
happy with that. Yep. Sorry, I'm happy with that.
All right. So we've had an amendment to that motion, Mr. CEO. Do you want to move that, Councillor Duff, or? Oh, okay. Yep. So the mover agrees to Boyedo, Wendy Thursborn out, and Bryce Edwards out from Council, and 2 representatives from Red Earth go on. Does a mover and seconder agree with that? Yep. Okay. So that'll be the new motion. Any more comments before we go to the vote? Yep. Kathy, you want to write a reply for anything?
Oh, no, I think we've had a good discussion. I'm happy with the outcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, the amended motion is that 2 representatives from Red Earth, Councillor Kathy Duff, Councillor Scott Henchin, Mr. Badesso, General Manager of Boyedo, and Alan Broome from Boyedo will form a committee that the South Burnett Regional Council, in partnership with the Boyedo from South Burnett Drought Support Committee, to collect and distribute donations for farmers struggling with drought across our region. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 8.2, notice of motion, extension to QRA funding. And again, Councillor Duff, I'll hand over to you to present this motion to the chamber.
Thank you. I apologise to Councillor Potter for these notices of motion, but they've come up because of the urgency of the drought, and I got approached, and this particular one, which is the timelines for the QRA funding. I got asked by the General Manager of Boyedo if we could ask for an extension. So my motion is that Council apply for an extension to the current QRA funding that is being rolled out by Boyedo to the end of March 2023.
Do we have a seconder?
Just a
Yeah,
point of
yeah.
order, just
Can-
thinking it should be 2024.
A good point. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Okay, open to the floor for conversation. Councillor Duff.
I have an email because I had a conversation with Mistral, who's a new General Manager of Boyedo, and I asked her if she could document what she was asking for from me because I didn't know the background. So I've just got this email that she sent through to me, and I'll just read it out. Hi, Kathy. Further to our conversation earlier today, please find below some ideas for workshops events next year. So subject to there being funds available, we would run an event in conjunction with South Burnett Grazing Network in February for Mary O'Brien and her RU Bogdomate mental health support program for primary producers. Boyedo would be running promotion and registration for the event. Alan thinks that one way to get male producers along is with something like a farmer's dinner. We think catering and Mary's fee could be around $5,000. We would also probably charge a ticket price for the event and possibly also source donations for lucky door prizes, etc. The other workshops of value would be the combined Department of Environment and Science, Reef Regulations, the Department of Resources Vegetation Management workshop, The category R reef regrowth vegetation legislation is shared between DES and resources, and on their own off-the-record admission is not clearly understood by either department. So basically what she's asking for is an extension, because apparently all the money has to be spent by the end of December, and she's just wanting an extension to have it in February, March. So I'm not sure if we can, but it was just to see if we have the opportunity to have it extended. That was basically the reason behind this resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, council. We'll go to GM Brooks for a
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor. So officers have been in contact with QRA, and the critical completion date for that funding and the projects that come from that funding is 30th of June. So 30th of June next year. So yeah, there's no problems at all giving that extension. We just don't want projects still being done in June, preferably, because that 30th of June critical date is when the projects need to be acquitted and all that sort of stuff. So this should be able to be done, no problems at all. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's wonderful, because they were of the belief that they had to have it done by the end of the year. So that's great. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, I understand with this funding that Baido's been holding a number of workshops, and I just think that's a wonderful partnership and collaboration, and an exciting opportunity to get these funds out on the ground and try to invest them in meaningful things. I wondered, Manager Brooks, if you could give a bit of an update around some of those workshops and the actual partnership arrangement with council and municipality.
Yeah, through you, Acting Chair. Yeah, so Baido have run now 6 of their proposed workshops, and obviously they've got some more planned in the new year. So these have been focused on the primary producer workshops. So from all reports, they've got a budget of $10,000 per workshop, which covers all the guest speaker fees, the catering venue hire and all that sort of thing. From all reports, yeah, they're being well received, well attended, and yeah, they're getting out there into the community, which is what it's all about. So, yep.
Yeah, thank you. I have attended a couple of those workshops in Cumbia and in Blackbutt around soil, and they were fantastic. Really innovative thinking about how we may be able to combat drought into the future with different land management practices. So really excited and good to see that that information, there's an opportunity for our primary producers to connect with those experts in their field and gain some of that feedback. We really do appreciate the opportunity to connect with them at those events.
Daryl, thanks, councillor. Daryl, excuse me. So the extension is easily granted, and the money will be there in the budget for that $5,000. So that would cover. So, excuse me. My concern just here with people doing it tough, they would probably charge a ticket price for the event. I would like. I know that's not part of the motion. They're only asking for the extension, but I would like to see maybe we can. I would. I don't think it's a good thing when people are struggling out there and then you ask them to come to an event for a farmer's dinner or whatever, and then it's going to cost you $20 to come, mate. So is there something that I'd just ask your view on that?
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, no, we can certainly have the conversation with Baido, and at the end of the day, it's their event, I guess. So we might be able to have some influence over that, but yeah, no, we can certainly take it up with them and have that conversation.
Thanks, Daryl. Councillor Potter.
Yeah, just curious, do we actually need this motion if it's already until the end of June? Just whether this is actually something we're doing just for the sake of doing it, or if because we've already got it until the June 2024. Just curious, thank you.
Through you, Acting Mayor, I guess it's on the agenda, so we're here to talk about it. So yeah, it should be a pretty straightforward one. We can do it and yeah, move on.
Okay, this is pretty straightforward, as Daryl said. The money's there until June and ask until March, so I think it's straightforward. Councillor Duff, do you want any right or reply?
Just wanted to say, to answer Councillor Potter's question, I was actually, that they were told, Mistral and the Baido group were told that it was closed, they couldn't extend beyond December, so that's why I brought it to the table. Thank you.
maybe a phone call could have sorted that out to Mr Brooks. But anyway, we're here. So we've got the notice of motion 8.2, moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Potter, that Council apply for an extension to the current QRA funding that is being rolled out by Boyedo to the end of March 2024. We go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 8.3. Another notice of motion and roadside grazing permits. And Councillor Duff, over to you again.
Acting Mayor and Councillor Duff, can I help? It's actually confusion reigns supreme even talking to the department about this one, because we had, Council, remember, we agitated back in 2018 and in between periods of limited periods from LJQ last week and in the office, been trying to find the history to it. And I know Daryl, General Manager Brooks, has spoken to the department twice and some of the information. So 2018, 19, I think even into 20, Councillor Duff, we lobbied for the change of the Act for the state component and drought declaration. Now they seem to be tinkering with what they're doing with down to direct declarations, which is a whole different conversation. So we aren't currently technically drought declared, I believe. So we've gone back and been pulling, and actually only this morning we found, the ladies in exec found the correspondence from LGAQ for me. So I've just given Tiana a slightly different wording, because with what they actually amended, if we leave both of them up there, with what they actually amended the Act to in 2022, they changed slightly the intent of our resolutions, and Banana Shire and a couple other councils were very heavily involved in this too. So what they've done is the state component of the fee, and the fee is now, the fee is regulated by the Act. Okay, so the fee is set by the Act. Council doesn't set the fee. This is an Act fee, but we don't have to remit it to the state anymore. So we have, and General Manager Brooks, without me stealing your thunder, but we don't have very many actually applications, and haven't had, given I suppose the climate conditions over a period of time, where we've collected $1. And they're just starting to come through now. So 100% of the state fee, or the regulated fee in the Act, is kept by the council. So basically the alternate, which is still the same intent, the South Banana Regional Council waive for grazing purposes during the current period of financial hardship. And financial hardship is important because they've written that into the Act. Due to the drought type conditions, even though our region has not technically been drought declared, and this position be reviewed in April 2024, which is actually ties in then with what we think the state's doing for the current wet season, which sounds a bit ironic. But yeah, so if Councillor Duff, if that's helpful, because they've changed the wording in the Act, and it's just taken us a bit to find out what they've done.
Thank you. I'm happy to move that as with the new wording, because I agree, just to get clarity, because there's been so much confusion around whether we are or whether we aren't. So that's really good. Thank you for the feedback, and I'm happy to move that new worded motion. Thank you.
Yeah, so we aren't and we won't be drought declared until technically we see the end of the wet season. So the government have said to me that we are technically in a drought, but they will not say. The conversation I had was that they said if we go and drought declare your region and then you get good rain through November, December, January, everyone looks like a fool. So they won't assess the conditions until after the wet season technically is finished, which is summer. And individual properties can be drought declared. You can apply for that under your own esteem, which is an absolute nightmare. But there is funding and everything else, and Councillor Potter has certainly led that with the local disaster management, and she's got an email put up on her page, and hopefully everyone will get a chance to have a look at that across the region and tell them wherever they can go to get these grants and everything else. So, yeah, it's a little bit sad, but drought declaration won't happen until after the wet season, technically, in their words. Alrighty, so Councillor Duff, you have moved the amendment to that. Happy with that. Did we have a seconder? Yes. Yeah, Councillor Shoemaker. Any further comments, questions, councillors, before we go to the vote? Councillor Duff?
Yeah, I just want to say that it was brought to my attention by Steph from DAF that they weren't actually going to even worry about drought declaring our region because we no longer get the state government are no longer paying the fodder freight subsidy. They're not paying the transport of water freight subsidy. So there's really not a lot that they're offering. I was talking to a lady who said that that there's still a federal, if you're drought declared, you can still get a federal, I think it's a tax benefit. So there's still some things. And Steph has asked me to get, if we've got anyone that's got real issues, that to try and mount a case that the drought committee would meet and try and get us drought declared if there was enough reason to. Otherwise, if they're not paying those other benefits, there's not a lot of benefit to being drought declared. So that's where that's at. And apparently, like you say, the independent one is a nightmare to try and get. So yeah, so it's a real concern. But what came out of the workshop is farmers need to get those resilience plans done, because that's in the long term. That's what's going to be tick the boxes to get some funding. But no one's in a mood now to do these plans because they're just trying to save cattle. So it's just the timing is really bad. So, yeah.
100%, councillor. That's well said. Okay, so the new motion there, moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that the South Burnett Regional Council waive fees. Oh, Councillor Anchin,
Sorry, Acting Mayor. Yeah, thank you again, Councillor Duff. I spent time this morning in the Rural Fires office over here across the street this morning. I just want to reiterate what they have said, and along with the grazing permits, they really are encouraging people, and I've said this, I'm sure people in this chamber have heard me say, they encourage grazing permits because their biggest fear is our roadsides, and that's where a huge body of grass is. They also said, and it amazes me, and I've just been flicking through my notes, Councillor Shoemaker or one of my other colleagues, when we went to the Bush Council, and the acting minister, the lady, her name escapes me. Sorry? The lady that had the audacity to tell us that there was no real funding for water until we were critical. Yep, thank you. And here we are in a drought 2 months later. I hope those words are being swallowed slowly, but and I said it and I'll say it again, it's a bit late when you're in critical to be talking about this now, but the Rural Fireys have also said, just to bring it to people's attention for a little bit of what my colleagues don't like me saying useless information, but it's not useless information. To get us back on a level playing field, the South Burnett needs 180 mil of rain just to get us back on a level playing field. Now that, as we know, is an enormous amount of rain. But they have said they really encourage people to get these grazing permits. It might be short term to be able to access that grass on the roadsides, but I'd really encourage anybody that's out there listening, come and get a permit and put them on the road, spend some time with them. And again, the people in the community, the travellers, the tourists, take 3 minutes or 30 minutes extra to go through the cattle. Yeah, so just wanted to bring that forward.
Thanks, councillor, and all good points. And I'm sure by listening to everybody, we all fully understand what's upon us and what's ahead of us. So, Councillor Duff, no other comments? Councillor Shoemaker, yeah.
Just further to what Councillor Henshin said, I know last time we were out in Iron Pot, there were, and that was nearly 2 months ago, there were already farmers and graziers out there grazing cattle on the roadsides. And I know just next door to my own farm in Tingara, that exact thing has happened because there is nothing left in the paddock. It is quite cruel, and we are all doing it very tough. Just further to what you're saying, I really think the point around keeping our roadsides clear is really important, and the opportunity to keep down that fuel for potential fires. CEO Mark, I just think maybe we need to get some communication out around the fact that, you can come in and get a grazing permit under financial hardship. There's no cost or charge, just to encourage more people to think about that, because there are some people that I've spoken to about it who have said, oh, it's too hard, it goes in the too hard basket, and maybe we could just be a leader in terms of communicating some of this information to our community, that this is an option. I don't know whether a media release or some social media or something, just to share with people that it's not a hard, arduous process, and to really encourage more people to take up the opportunity. Being that we get very few applications, I think we really need to do what we can to get the word out.
Acting Mayor, if I may, certainly Councillor Shoemaker. And the other aspect of this is, and it's strongly encouraged that, and particularly now that we'll start to see this ramp up with the dry conditions, people do get a permit for even at no cost because insurance and other liability risks. So we are, well, one would suspect that there's people out there running cattle anyway on the roads, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's in their own best interest for the liability side of it. So if something happened, that they actually have the permit and then it covers them. So yeah, no, certainly we'll be getting some media out on it.
Thanks, Mr. CEO, and very good. Righto, we'll go to the vote. Oh, Councillor Erkins.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Can I just ask some clarification? So, for the smaller acreage people, because there are a lot of small acreage people with animals, big road reserves, so are they able to get a permit? Because I do know at the moment I see a lot of Facebook posts where animals are, they're in a bare paddock and they're actually getting out the fences themselves, and they are in those road reserves, and people do have to be a little careful how they're driving. But I mean, as Councillor Henson has pointed out, we need that feed that's on the roadside because it's so dry, eaten down. Small acreage, are they eligible to get a permit to run their stock?
Yeah, Councillor Henson, anyone can apply for a permit. There are conditions to it, and the conditions are placed on it. Because there has to be a copy of the insurance certificate, there has to be a few things like that. Now, if I was putting, and certainly if I was a small acreage and I was putting a single cow or some cattle out on the road, as much as it's a nuisance or might be seem to be difficult, those things in a litigious society are there for their protection. So that's why they're built into the permit process. So there's no fee, but anyone can apply for a permit.
I do know that you do go driving through some areas, people will have an electric fence out from their place and they've got them running out, or even at sometimes you'll see them, animals tethered out on the road reserve.
Okay, last chance, very briefly, Councillor Henson, then Potter, and we'll go.
Just quickly, through experience and for your information, Councillor Erkins, you need a $20 million public liability. Most people have a 10, and you need South Burnett Regional Council noted as on your insurance policy. And one of the biggest things, and some people fail to do it, is to contact and liaise with your neighbours. Because if you have road frontage of, whether it be 500 metres or 5 kilometres, and you want to traverse on, and your neighbour across the road joins your boundary as well, it's only etiquette that if you have a 5k or 500 metre, talk to your neighbours, you might only get 250 metres or 2.5 kilometres. So really encourage community conversation when you're going to get a permit. Just don't rock in and say we want from A to B, and I'm sure when you fill in your paperwork it defines exactly where you're going to graze and for how long. It's a simple process, but certainly communication with your neighbours is paramount so there's no arguments and our guys don't have to go out and settle a dispute.
Good point. And Councillor Potter to finish up.
Yeah, just quickly, thank you, Acting Mayor. This is actually part of the discussion I had with the Lions Club last Thursday night in a meeting, but with regards to roadside grazing, so thank you, Councillor Duff, for bringing this forward. But they also mentioned stock routes, so I don't know the rules and regulations regarding stock routes, whether we can add stock routes in here or whether that's a totally different situation. Thank you very much.
All the same. So the underlying tenure of a stock route is road reserve.
Okay, we've had sufficient discussion. We'll go to the vote now on this motion. Moved by Councillor Duff, second by Councillor Shoemaker. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.1, business outstanding table for the ordinary council meeting. The officer's recommendation that the business outstanding table for the ordinary council meeting be received for information. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Questions, comments? There's a whole list of them there. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add page 62 in relation to Resolution 2003/47 regarding our water challenges. I did meet with the acting DG, Linda Dober, at the LGAQ conference, which I'm sure many of you also had conversations, and discussed the matter with her and her newly appointed acting executive director, Daniel Harris. I have got his details, which I will pass on to the CEO. He is the acting executive director for strategic water initiatives, and he has offered to travel to the South Burnett region and meet with us to better understand certainly more about our dam safety regulations, our urban water challenges for Nanango and Kingaroy, and the work we've done on the Bundaberg Burnett Regional Water Assessment. I'm mindful that we've had departmental staff out here time and time again, but I'm also mindful that the Minister's just released the water strategy, and that they have indicated that they're going to do an assessment of every region's water infrastructure again. I think we're in a good position because of all the work that we've done, but that we should take up that opportunity to meet with the acting executive director as soon as reasonably possible. I understand he got his feet under the desk of his new role last week. So CEO Mark, just as an action from that, are we able to coordinate that meeting if I give you his details? Thank you. And just the other one I just wanted to check on was Resolution 2023/25 in relation to a report being brought back to the October Infrastructure, Environment and Compliance Standing Committee about the community consultation process regarding animal management. I know that we'd had some conversations about the compliance and how that process would roll out, and I'm just mindful of the caretaker period looming, that we are resource strained, and just wondering how we're going to progress those conversations.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor, we're hoping to get that report to the November Standing Committee.
And will that be around what consultation we'll do in relation to the animal management dog registration discussions?
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor. Probably the priority is around what the fees, dog registration fees need to be for the next registration period, and how long you might want to run that registration period for. And obviously there's a lot of debate about all of the other initiatives.
Yep.
Now, obviously in setting on the budget, there's no budget allocation to do all that sort of thing. So I think the nature of the report will be, what decisions do you need to make around that dog registrations? What's the fees? What's the area? Because obviously there was some debate around that as well. So that's what the focus of that report will be.
Okay. Thank you. Look forward to resolving that.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. It was great to meet Daniel, Councillor Shoemaker. And one of the things, and I know I'm a bit like a broken record when I talk about the reports that were done for the South Burnett, but I did mention to Daniel about how that report that is in there actually is incorrect on what's happening with the water, and he did tell me that he was going to look into that. But to quote a saying by Councillor Henson, a little bit of useless information, when he comes up, Daniel was actually in a previous life a drummer in a band, and he said that when he comes up he's going to take advantage and visit my shed. So a Friday for a visit, if possible, Mr. CEO, would be very good. Otherwise I'll have to make a different time for a shedding night. Thank you.
Well done, Councillor, and whatever it takes to get a result, that's what we'll try and do, eh? Okay, any more comments or questions around that before we go to the vote? So we've got that moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Potter, that the business outstanding table for the ordinary council meeting be received for information. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We'll try and slip one or two more in before we break for morning tea. And we go to 10.1 and the portfolio, corporate governance, strategy, people and culture, communication, media, finance, sustainability, ICT and business systems, community representation and advocacy for the 2032 Olympics and Paralympics. The officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council pre-lodgement development application meetings policy strategic 031 be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded Councillor Duff. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Certainly as the portfolio holder for planning, I'm very excited about the adoption of this policy. The pre-lodgement development applications meeting policy is an important step forward. The policy is about reducing the potential for further information requests during the assessment of the application. Pre-lodgement meetings allow applicants to ask for advice on their development of proposal, openly discuss known or potential issues that may arise in the assessment of that proposal, and aims to resolve issues prior to lodging a formal development application. A pre-lodgement meeting also aims to assist the applicant in submitting a well-made application by clarifying all the relevant information that Council will require in the development assessment process. And as per the policy, this will expedite and streamline that process. For the first time in this term of Council, we have a fully staffed planning team. We know upfront conversations like these are key, and I welcome the formal introduction of this process and our shared commitment to continuous improvement in this space. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Shoemaker. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just wonder if it's possible to put into the policy, and I know we have had meetings on it, but I would like to see it somehow in there that the aim of this council is to encourage, support and assist development in our area. It may say that, but may say it, but not in those words. It would be good if that could be in there, because I believe that that is our role, and I would like to see it in the thing. Another little bit of useless information is while we're at Gladstone and we met the guy who's going to be in charge of facilities for the Olympics. It was well done, Councillor Jones, where you told him you would really encourage him to come visit, and he did say he was. You did mention that we did need a new pool for Kingaroy. Well done. I just wondered about that, whether it's possible. I do know, so in my previous life as a real estate agent, I know that one of the things, we did have a lot of dealings with council and development and applications, and one of the things that it was really good to be able to send somebody down to council and know that that was their role, that they were there to, encourage and support and assist in that role. So I just don't know whether that's possible to somehow have that in there, because I believe that is the aim of us as a council. Thank you.
Okay. GM Jarvis or Mr. GM Brooks or CEO.
Yeah, I'll go.
The councillor said that she believes that it already says that, but is it a drama to put those words in or something along that?
It's not. This is not totally. We can fold it into a policy. It's probably not this one. This one specifically deals with the logistics and the dealing with pre-lodgement meetings. It's a process, which hopefully isn't badly explained. The economic development stuff and some of the other things. So I made a note of the wording, but I think it's just not the right policy to drop it in, because this one's about acting with the developments in a pre-lodgement to get them to. So you're looking at a process. I'm trying to think how best to say it. You're looking at a mechanical processy type, a mechanical process to get pre-lodgements done and get them in, which assists with the whole development process. Yours is a statement of intent, which probably doesn't sit in mechanical space. It sits somewhere else, but it just doesn't sit in this one.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I would like, if we can keep that in mind then, that does go somewhere in one of our policies, that is the intent of this council, is to do that. Thank you.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Chair, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Oaken says about the intent of the whole development process, and I'm really pleased to see in this actual purpose of the pre-lodgement meetings, it's to explore possible solutions to identified issues, provide feedback to applicants regarding proposed solutions to identify issues, indicate the likely outcome of the ensuing assessment process. So all of that, what Councillor Erkins has mentioned is it's in the wording in this actual pre-lodgement meeting. It's about trying to make it happen, trying to work out solutions. So, that's why I really am pleased about this policy, because it has that kind of intent. But as CEO Mark said, perhaps the wording needs to be somewhere else, but I 100% agree that we need to get that message out there that we're open for business and that we're wanting to help. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor, and you're dead right. All councillors have had input into this policy, and it's a good outcome. Long discussions and even meetings with community members, and it's a good outcome. So, well done. We'll go to the vote. On that, moved by Councillor Shoemaker, second by Councillor Duff, that the South Burnett Regional Council pre-lodgement development application meetings policy strategic 1031 be adopted as presented. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. We'll go one more and we'll break for morning tea. And the adoption of Council's annual report 22-23 and the officer's recommendation that Council adopt the South Burnett Regional Council 22-23 annual report for the period 1st of July 2022 to the 30th of June 2023. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. We had that all presented to us this morning. Is there questions, comments? Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the team who prepared this report. Back in my early days as a project officer for South Burnett Regional Council, I actually used to do these, so I understand how much work goes into them. For me, this report demonstrates our commitment to open, transparent and accountable governance. It's a reminder of our focus on our core council functions and commitment to looking carefully at the services we provide to the community and challenging ourselves and our operations to deliver despite the increasing cost pressures and workforce challenges we face. It's recognition of the completion of long-awaited projects in our region which have and will continue to improve the livability of the South Burnett. It's been a pleasure to work with my colleagues, the general managers and management team to address the challenges we face. I particularly value the work we've done to understand and plan for our budget constraints. This report details the $21.697 million capital spend during the 22-23 year, noting that 60% of this spend can be attributed to roads and transport infrastructure. This report is a reminder of the commitment we each made to serve our ratepayers, the shareholders of the region, efficiently and effectively, and make a positive difference in people's lives through the quality of the work we do. There's so much more work to be done, but this is a great opportunity to see just how far we've come. And I'd like to acknowledge everyone who's been part of actually pulling this information together and encourage the shareholders of our region, you the ratepayers, to read it. Thank you.
Well said, councillor. Anyone else got any comments? Yeah, Mr. CEO.
Acting Mayor, just a mechanical issue. So this complies with the, so this resolution today ticks. We have 30 days from the signing of the statements in the Audit Committee to produce the annual report. We're still proofing it as far as just grammatical and change. So if you spot an error in it, it will go up on the website next week. So if you spot something in it, you think, oops, that's a typo or something, let us know. The statements cannot change, so that component of it is deadlocked and submitted to the auditors and the audit office and everything. And I think if I can acknowledge Susan Carey and the finance team on the audit, and again everyone else had their contributions to the report. But we're pretty much green lights on all of our timings. So everything's on time and in place and submitted. And it just would encourage people to read it. It's a massive job to pull it together. But when you look at the work that's been conducted over the last year, it's no wonder we're all used the old adage, oh, gee, we're busy. It was a busy year and it was a big year, and there's some substantive projects in there that came to completion. And thank you for the kind words, Councillor, and acknowledgement to the whole organisation for their contribution, the work they put into it.
Absolutely, Mr. CEO. No one single person can achieve anything without a team, so that is correct. So congratulations to the finance team, well done, and to all the councillors, everybody that's had anything to input, congratulations. Okay, any further comments? Okay, we have it moved by Councillor Potter, second by Councillor Duff, that Council adopt the South Burnett Regional Council 22-23 annual report for the period 1st of July 2022 to the 30th of June 2023. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. I will now get Councillor Henson to move that we break for morning tea. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Erkins, okay. All those in favour? Unanimous, okay, we'll come back, let's say 10:45, eh? All right, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to move that we resume the general meeting, seconded by councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay. We dealt with 10.4 fully, yes. So we're on to 10.5. First quarter review, including continued capital projects. And the officer's recommendation is 1, that in accordance with section 1703 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the revised 22-23 operational budget be adopted. And 2, that in accordance with section 173 of the Local Government Regulations 2012, the revised 22-23 capital budget, including continued projects from 22-23, be adopted. Do we have a mover? Thanks, councillor Duff. Seconded, councillor Potter. Questions or comments, councillors? Councillor Shoemaker.
Just give me a second while I find my page. I've muddled it up in the break here. Here we go. My biggest concern here is we are increasing the capital program significantly to $42,872,772.08 to be delivered this current financial year. And looking here, you know, I see we carried over last year. Probably what I want to understand more about is we carried over last year a large portion of works in progress, some $25.15 million in works in progress that are yet to be capitalised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Acting Mayor. That concerned me too, Councillor, when I first read that report. And most of that carryover, where the 7.7 million carryover, 4 million of that is my plant and fleet budget.
Yeah.
That's been committed, and some of the waiting periods are up to 18 months for delivery. So that's why that was a major part of the capital that was carried over. And then roads was about 2 million there. That was the bulk of really the carryovers. The rest were just bits and pieces there for facilities and that added to the 7.7 mil. So really, if you took that 4 million that we know has been committed and has been purchased there, that would drop it down to a carryover of a bit over 3 million there.
I'm just, you know, according to the financial report, we've only expended 14% of this year's capital budget, and we're now in October. I guess I've raised it before during the budget discussions, and I understand it's challenging to get contractors and things at this time. However, I think to be at the first quarter and to be increasing our capital budget to $42,872,772, and to ensure we don't have this giant backlog of works in progress, I just want to be assured by you, CEO Mark, and the team that you're actually able to deliver this enormous capital program for the year. And I imagine you've had numerous conversations as an executive team, and I understand how works in progress work. It does always come at a risk of we carry over high portions of works in progress, because at some point we have to depreciate them. At some point there is an impact. So I'm just wondering if you can provide any further context on the first quarter report.
Through you, Mr. Acting Mayor. Thanks, Councillor. The WIP is alarmingly high, as you have stated, the 25 million, but those projects have in fact been completed. So they were put on hold to be capitalised while the auditors were here. Yep. Now the auditors have fully finished their audit, and that we will be progressing by capitalising the WIP. And you are correct, it does affect our depreciation there when we have to go retrospectively. That will hit our bottom line. So we have a report going to the ELT on Monday, where Maxine and Kerry will be presenting to the ELT and highlighting which parts that we will be capitalising in consultation with the executive.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And councillor, if I could just add to that.
Yeah,
So
please.
the comment with the auditors, so we did the revaluation on the roads last year.
Yes.
So once the revaluation commenced, we're actually precluded from doing that capitalisation.
Oh, I see.
So the reval of the roads held up quite a volume of that material coming through. It's like one of those quirky things, and you have heard me say before. Sometimes the accounting standard as a non-accounting person just does my head in. But anyway, so there is a bubble in there with the reval of the roads because 6 months, I think, or thereabouts, by the time we started the reval, then we got to 30 June. So you just couldn't touch that section until that reval was completed. So yeah, it's now a catch up on that bit.
And just in terms of delivering on the program, you know, you've done the first quarter review, obviously had some difficult discussions about that. It has increased, you know, first quarter adjustments and continued projects has increased it from 33 mil to 42. That is a significant increase. Just do you as a team feel you can get the resources, the skills, the capabilities, the materials to deliver on this program?
Single word, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
There is the other big bubble in there, which is and again support General Manager's Jarvis's comment. The plant stuff, the one I am dodgy about is the plant budgets. We are totally at beck and call of China and Korea and everyone else who makes machinery these days, other than here. Supply chain issues, but certainly it's been put through ELT, SLT. Well, anyway, it's certainly been through ELT, and I think we actually had a bit of a chat about it SLT too the other day. And as again, fully supporting General Manager Jarvis, you bought a report the other day, and it's been retagged so it's been tabled and then retagged for discussion next week. It is a guideline that we put in place, and we haven't really, at all levels of the organisation, from staffing all the way up to decisions made around this table. It is my absolute and firm belief that if anything comes in, something comes out.
Yeah.
Now, again, I totally respect the chamber and the decisions that are made, and whatever we'll enact. But if and I've certainly spoken to the SLT as far as future reports, be it operational capital, that it really needs to be something that we build into the reports now going forward. Now, there may be very good reasons for something else to be done. The other aspect of the first quarter review and looking at last year is whatever the other numbers are, we ended up cash positive. So there's been some of that money put against the swimming pool. And then I think you asked the question, it's almost answering of a previous question, how do we replenish some of these funds? So the building reserve fund, so 500,000 again to the swimming pool, putting it in the bank. I get roused on because I love the old language, which was putting it into the reserve. So you know it's there for that purpose. And that building fund that gets dipped into fairly regularly, 100 and how many of 160, 100 and something K went into that building reserve to replenish that, what's been drained out of it. So that cash has not been just left unfixed to something. So it'll start to replenish those reserves.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly want to recognise the work that's happening in that space. Yes, just mindful we make these commitments to the community that we're going to deliver this program of works. We actually need to deliver it, and if there are reasons why we can't, we need to have the upfront conversation and not leave it until the end when we realise we don't have enough money to actually fund that project or deliver on it. I'm a big believer in what you're saying, CEO Mark, that if something goes in, something needs to come out. And it's great to hear we have put some money in the bank for those large projects, but that work obviously needs to continue. It's also really great to hear that we've reduced our debt balance by 13.5 million over this term, which is now sitting around the 23 million. And I know while we have a high cash position, and some of that can be attributed to those prepayments, of the waste levy and the like, it's good to see that our ratio actually looking so positive. So well done to everybody involved, and thank you for the report.
Through you, Mr. Acting Mayor.
Yes.
Just to sort of continue on with the CEO's comments and to reassure council, when it's an initiative that the CEO mentioned at the last SLT meeting, was that every quarterly review now is that we will be reviewing the budget and the capital works and the WIP as a collective. So we'll have the ELT and the managers in the room, and we will be going through line items and that as a collective, so we can see how everyone's tracking, why they're not tracking there. And the CEO, because of he's asked or challenged all the staff to, even down to forms, to review all of our processes and procedures for double ups, anything that's clunky, that's, to sort of lighten up the load and make it easier on our customers, which are our ratepayers, to come in and deal with council, but also looking for efficiencies at the same time. So we're really sort of got the knife out and just cutting wherever we can, looking for efficiencies. Thank you.
Okay, all good. Any more comments or questions before we go to the vote? We've got, it's moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Potter, that that in accordance with Section 173 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the revised 22-23 operational budget be adopted, and 2, that in accordance with Section 173 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the revised 22-23 capital budget, including continued projects from 22-23, be adopted. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, we now go on to 11.1, Portfolio, Infrastructure, Planning, Works, Construction and Maintenance, Water and Wastewater, Plant and Fleet. And the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council name the 2 roads part of subdivision at 241 Izzards Road, South Nanango, Road 1, Cripps Road and Road 2, Cross Road. We have a mover, Councillor Erkins, seconder, Councillor Henson. Any questions or comments around that? We had long discussion through a standing committee. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 12.1 on page 183. Portfolio, Community Development, Arts, Heritage and Library Services. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council apply to the Regional University Study Hubs 2023 application round. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Henson. Any comments or questions?
Acting Mayor, I made, there will be a further report on this come up. So this one is just to formally start the ball rolling as we discussed at the standing committee. Sanju has done an absolutely extensive report on this. The application is going to be very reliant on partnerships. We've spoke to Sherburg again, so Sherburg is certainly very much on board. So the 2 councils, Councillor Potter sent me a whole swag of information through, which is terrific. We met with St Mary's last night, so they want to come on board and be party to it. So there's a range. We are seeking clarification as who actually has to put in the application, because the way whether it's a community group, when they talk about community group and how and who. So there'll be further a much more comprehensive report coming to the November Standing Committee, pulling all this information together in the guidelines as to how and why we apply. And even only this morning, I think Councillor Potter, you flicked me LGAQs in board on it, and so there's a swag of moving parts in this one to get it in by the 15th of December. But yeah, so there'll be further information coming, long story short.
Councillor Erkins.
I would just like to commend Councillor Potter and Councillor Henson on their persistence and hard work on this. It's going to be, if we get this, it's going to be a fabulous thing for our region, and they've really worked hard on this project, so let's hope we achieve something with it. Thanks, guys.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you. I just wanted to flag that or mention that I know I'm happy that we've engaged with Sherburg Council, but I also know that the North Burnett were keen to have be involved in this. I've only got that feedback through by Edo, so I just wanted to see if we could increase our chances of getting it if we had, North Burnett and an Indigenous council like Sherburg and South Burnett all working together. As they've said, it's about collaboration. to increase our chances because it's very competitive, the process apparently. So just wanted to flag that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to second Councillor Erkin's comments and certainly recognise the significance of this project, which we have also submitted to the Regional Economic Futures Funding for some funding, recognising that our region is undergoing an economic transformation with the introduction of new industries, renewable energy, circular economy, high-tech ag and smart healthcare. There's certainly a need and an opportunity for high-skilled employment and education in the region, and we have clearly an opportunity to achieve significant growth and increased quality of life for residents if we actually support and get this off the ground. So just want to thank you, Councillor Potter. I know this has been something that you've certainly spoken quite passionately about, and yourself and Councillor Henson went out of the region to have a look at some centres and see how they work, and really do have my fingers and toes crossed. As someone who graduated from a degree this year and never stepped foot on a university campus, I can certainly recognise the importance of facilities like these and allowing other working mums and mature age students to have access to high-speed internet. Air conditioning is a bonus, and certainly quiet space away from the family to study. This is a real game changer for the region, and I am really excited to see us move forward. And thank you for your work, certainly with Councillor Erkins, in advocating in Parliament House as well earlier this year. Really do look forward to hopefully what will be a positive result.
Thanks, Councillor. Any more comments? If not, we've got the motion moved by Councillor Potter, second by Councillor Henson, that the South Burnett Regional Council apply to the Regional University Study Hubs 2023 application round. All those in favour? Unanimous. 12, 15. Well, we've got 12 on the top of the page. Oh, there we go. Turn it over, Gavin. Okay, 15.1, Jubilee Park Legacy Issues. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council delegate powers to the Chief Executive Officer under Section 257 of the Local Government Act 2009 to continue to meaningfully engage in correspondence to resolve this legacy issue amicably, and should negotiations fail, then to obtain legal advice on, and if deemed appropriate, initiate proceedings under SS 98 to 108B, Division 5 of Part 6 of the Land Title Act 1994. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Duff. Comments or questions around this one? Okay, we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 15.2, Councillor Shoemaker. Is that you? With the pool one? Aquatic Centre? Yep. Yeah, okay. Yep. So do you want to move a motion? Yes. Oh, no, you probably can't. Okay, yep. Yeah, so Councillor Potter moved that we bring agenda item 15.4 above 15.3 and deal with both while Councillor Shoemaker's out. Councillor Duff, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, so we now go to 15.2, the South Burnett Aquatic Centre increase to electricity costs, and the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council 1 amend service management agreement for Summer Country Aquatic Schedule 3 Clause 1S2Q contribution to electricity to a fixed electricity contribution of $55,998 for financial year 23-24, and 2, the increase in electricity costs be included the second quarter operational budget review. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, second to Councillor Duff. Comments and questions around that? It's just a forced decision on us, I think. Okay, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. We now jump to 15.4, and this one is Kingaroy W.J. Lang Memorial Swimming Pool increase to electricity costs. The officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council, 1, amend service management agreement for Summer Country Aquatic Schedule 2, Clause 1S2Q, contribution to electricity to be a fixed electricity contribution of $33,767 for financial year 23-24 and fixed amount of $2,812.06 for June 2023, and 2, the increase in electricity costs be included the second quarter operational budget review. Do we have a mover? Councillor Erkin, seconded Councillor Hanshin. Comments? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Can someone bring Councillor Shoemaker in, please? Okay, we now go back to 15.3, application for funding under the 23-24 Queensland Government Minor Infrastructure and Inclusive Facilities Fund, Butter Factory Park, Nanango and Mergen Skate Park, Mergen. And the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council endorse the 2 applications for grant funding under the Minor Infrastructure and Inclusive Facilities Fund to replace inadequate toilet facilities at Butter Factory Park, Nanango, with larger accessible amenities, and for the construction of a new accessible facility at the Mergen Skate Park. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconded Councillor Erkins. Comments or questions around this one? Councillor Duff.
We discussed this, but I think it's really a great opportunity for that skate park at Mergen if we could get that funding, because I know that I've had school teachers and different people comment that, that skate park gets used a lot. It's become very much a community park, and there's being no facilities there, they often try to get across to the council chambers to use the toilets in the library, so it will be a great asset if we can get that. And also, obviously, the Butter Factory Park is an amazing park, and if we could get the upgrade to all-inclusive, that's 2 good news stories, hopefully, if the grants are successful. Thank you.
Totally agree, well said. Any other comments? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 15.5, renewal of lease, South Burnett Western Performance Club Inc. And the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council, 1, resolves that the exception in Local Government Regulation 2012 Section 2361B2 applies to council for the disposal by way of grant of a trustee lease of the valuable non-current asset, which is Lot B in Lot 174 on Crown Plan FY 803924 with South Burnett Western Performance Club Incorporated for a term of 10 years, and 2, delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the trustee lease between Council and South Burnett Western Performance Club Incorporated on terms and conditions that Chief Executive Officer considers satisfactory to Council. Do I have a mover? Councillor Erkin, second Councillor Potter. Questions? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. 16, we don't have any. We're on to 17.1 on page 191. Regional Development Services, Community and Social Housing. 17.1, the officer's recommendation. There it is. On top of page 192, the officer's recommendation, the change request pursuant to S81 and S86 under the Planning Act 2016 be approved subject to the following changes as outlined below. Amended conditions shown in bold and deleted conditions shown in strike through. We have a mover. Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Hanshin. Okay, open to the floor for comments or conversation. Councillor Duff.
Thank you. Yeah, interested to hear from the planning department on this one. I know there's been it's been a long process, and I know the applicants have been eagerly waiting for this, and it's I'm pleased to see that it's been approved and recommended for approval, and yeah, just wanted to get some comments from the planning officer.
Okay, we'll just wait and see. You may not get the
Uh, w-
answers available. I'll hand over to the CEO.
We regrettably have one planning officer in hospital and one off sick. And we have the general manager actually has a conflict with this one why he stepped out because of the company that's brought it forward. So I could happily take that on notice, but I'm limited in who would be able to answer that question today.
I'm happy just to move the motion. Thank you.
So we have there the officer's recommendation, moved by Councillor Duff, second by Councillor Henson, that the change request pursuant to S81 and S86 under the Planning Act 2016 be approved subject to the following changes outlined below. Amended conditions shown in bold and deleted conditions shown in strike through. We go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous.
Councillor and acting through you, acting mayor, what we'll do is for the next planning briefing report, we'll have the officers here and they can talk through all that. I'll make a note of them for them to specifically go through this one.
Happy with that, Councillor Duff? Yep, okay. Okay, we move on to 17.2, other change to an existing development approval, MCU 22/0022, dated 19th of April 23, material change of use for short-term accommodation at 17 Forkhill Drive, Moffatdale, and described as Lot 22 on SP 221464. Applicant, Luso Retreats Proprietary Limited, care of O'Reilly Nunn Favia Surveyors. The officer's recommendation is that the other change request for short-term accommodation is approved subject to the following conditions. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Erkins. Councillor Duff, you got anything there? I think it's
Oh, yes,
pretty well handled.
sorry, same, yeah, the applicant's keen to get this one sorted, and so, yeah, happy that it's been approved with the conditions. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. It certainly is an exciting proposal to increase the short-term accommodation in that Moffatdale area. I know there's big plans for a future tourism precinct in that area, and having a place for people to stay is really, really important. I'm glad that the team has been able to progress this and find a solution. It will mean that there will be 3 more units available for rent out at Moffatdale, which certainly does make things a lot more appealing in terms of visiting the wineries and things in the area. So excellent work from the team in addressing this one and getting it finalised. Thank you. Fully supportive of the recommendation.
Yeah, well said, Councillor. We certainly need accommodation as much as we can, as quick as we can. Okay, any other questions, comments there? If not, we'll go to the motion there. The other change request for short-term accommodation is approved, subject to the following conditions. Moved by Councillor Shoemaker, second by Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Unanimous. Daryl. Yep. Okay, 17.3, the South Burnett Regional Housing Action Plan Draft Report. And the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council, A, adopt the draft South Burnett Local Housing Action Plan, B, undertake community consultation with local stakeholder groups, and C, post-community consultation, submit final report to a future council meeting for final adoption. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Potter seconded. So, yep, Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, and certainly want to acknowledge Councillor Potter. It's been something that we've been working on collectively for this term of council. The housing crisis is crippling our region. This action plan is a reminder that the future prosperity and livability of our region hinges on our ability to house a growing and diverse population. This action plan is a reminder that the current housing crisis in our region is complex, shedding light on several critical aspects. We need to address these challenges to ensure the well-being of our residents, both now and in the future, and I believe that means we have to buy into the vision that every South Burnett resident has a home, and together we must be relentless in achieving that goal. This plan offers a comprehensive review of the demographic changes experienced over this past decades in our region. We've seen a significant increase in our ageing population, with 25.9% of our residents aged 65 years. We are well above the state average. The median age of residents has also risen substantially, now standing at 47.9 years. Projections indicate that this trend will continue, with the median age expected to reach 49.3 years by 2026. These statistics highlight the growing need for diverse housing options that cater for an ageing population, meaning accessibility and connection to services is critical. Furthermore, the 2021 census revealed that 30% of households in our region are occupied by a single person, and almost half of families are either couples without children or single parent families. This means the average family size in our region is 2.8 persons, creating an opportunity to provide higher density accommodation options. Affordability, however, is perhaps our biggest concern of all. A majority of households in our region earn less than $1,000 per week, making home ownership a significant challenge. The median mortgage repayment is $1,083, and nearly 60% of our population is recognised as the most disadvantaged on the socio-economic index. This, along with the pipeline of renewable projects and strong industry growth, has led to increased demand for rental properties, putting additional pressure on households already facing the rising cost of living and making painstaking decisions to go without basic needs and essentials to get by. And this is not good enough. This plan demonstrates the South Burnett is home to a diverse population, with 10.7% of our residents having migrated from overseas and 6.2% identifying as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander. Over 1/3 of our residents have long-term health conditions, and 10% are living with severe or profound disabilities. This highlights the need for housing and services that cater to the unique needs of our population. Currently, 93% of our housing stocks consist of single detached dwellings, leaving a significant gap for alternate housing options like semi-detached dwellings. Investment in government-owned employee housing has also declined, with the plan revealing a need for dwellings for 10 new departmental staff. There are also some 50 job vacancies in the region for key services such as youth workers, education providers, dentists, domestic family violence support workers and counsellors. We will also have growing workforces to house, and know we need to find homes for professionals that we need living in our region to support our hospital and our major industries. We also have that strong pipeline of renewable energy projects on our doorstep that will bring hundreds of people to the area during the construction phase, who will then leave once the project is complete, and we need to find ways to extract these economic benefits and encourage them to live locally. Clearly, the lack of housing is a significant barrier to attracting talent and professionals to our region. Furthermore, there's not been consistent investment in state-owned housing, social housing stocks. And while we have some projects now underway, there's still an enormous gap to meet the needs of our growing population. Today, there are some 104 applications on a waiting list for social housing, and many others are known but not registered. This report estimates we need some 140 social housing dwellings. According to the 2021 census, there are currently 383 people living in overcrowded situations and 119 people sleeping rough, and no doubt that statistic has grown. The ageing and very high portion of severely socially economic disadvantaged population, in combination with low income families, means we have a high demand for social and affordable housing options, and we need government support and intervention to find these families and local residents somewhere safe to live. This plan is the first step in terms of achieving that. The demand for rural residential allotments has also surged, creating a scarcity premium, but economic feasibility has become an issue in recent years. We need to continue to make it more economically viable to support residential development in our region, and this plan is the progression of our efforts to streamline and fast-track our planning processes. Despite the many challenges, I'd like to acknowledge that we've made significant efforts as a council and I'm energised by the opportunity to do more. This plan is an extension on the co-hosted forums held to understand the problem, our partnership with community housing providers Regional Housing Limited and South Burnett CTC, which meant gifting vacant land and constructing more social and affordable housing stocks, and I'm excited to announce that we are getting closer to seeing shovels in the ground. We've also been fierce advocates and worked with others to secure funding for crisis accommodation and wraparound support services, but we know there are still families living in tents, elderly people living in cars, young people couch surfing, and that we must do more. The draft Local Housing Action Plan is a living document that guides us in addressing the housing crisis in our region. The key actions focus on land, planning, optimisation, master planning, capital solutions, construction, people in need, and supports. Some of the projects include investigating the conversion of underutilised parkland to residential living, assessing infrastructure capacity, identifying parklands to support future high-density development, advocating for crisis accommodation investment, and partnering with community housing providers and the state government to encourage investment in accommodation for residents over 55. While this is a start, there is clearly many more local ideas and initiatives to be considered, and I look forward to working with Councillor Potter and yourselves and others to achieve better in our region. I'd also just like to thank Jennifer Poynton and Paul Turner, who's in the room, and the team for compiling this plan, and acknowledge South Burnett CTC, Jason Urbacher, Matthew Kenny, and Regional Housing Limited, Isaac and Chris Robertson, for their support in standing with our region in addressing these challenges. I look forward to ongoing conversations and progressing these actions to help our region thrive, hopefully sooner than projected. And together, I believe we can create a community, a future in the South Burnett that ensures every person has a right to a home. Thank you, and looking forward to working together to make this plan a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Very thorough and in-depth and full of information, so well done. Good report. Any other comments or questions around that? Councillor Duff?
I just want to say, I think it is very important that we address this. I'm really pleased that we have this plan. It was interesting to go to that Pathways to Prosperity last night and see the statistics and see that we actually have every opportunity, but we just haven't got the houses for people. So we need to make this happen sooner rather than later. So great outcome that we've got the plan, but as Councillor Shoemaker said, we need to start to get some actions. Thank you.
Yeah, no, everyone in the room's got skin in the game, and we're all trying to do the right thing. So we'll just keep working, as was said, work as a team, and see what we can come up with. That is good. So, any other comments? If not, we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Ooh. Over on page 274 will be our next motion. And that's the infrastructure charges and planning incentives, and that's a committee resolution. Officer's recommendation is that 1, South Burnett Regional Council approve the extension to the Developer Incentive Scheme for 2 years to the 31st of December 2025. The proposed 2-year extension provides reasonable amount of time for developers to move through the planning application process and progress to a stage where a development can be implemented in time to take advantage of the reduction in charges available. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker. Seconded, Councillor Potter. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. It's clear we cannot continue to do business the same way. Incentivising development is important, particularly when we have a history of bankrupt developments to overcome. We know, because developers have told us, it is almost impossible to borrow funds to develop land in our region because the market and other factors had let them down once before. By extending this policy, we as a council can continue to do what we can to support the growth of our region. We have learned that this policy is working. It is encouraging stagnating developments to be delivered and encouraging more infill development. The 2-year extension provides a reasonable amount of time for developers to progress to a stage where the development can be completed. I believe we have to be ambitious, and clearly these incentives are generating action. We all know we desperately need more land and more infill development, and this is a way our council can continue to encourage that. There is no indication, certainly from the discussions last night, that things are slowing down. I believe this policy is a key mechanism to continue to see our population grow, and in particular the development of more residential land for housing. I fully support the recommendation and thank the team for bringing it forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just wanted to comment that last night there was some talk after the presentation by the second speaker about our incentives, and some of the comment was that even though we have these discounts, that we're still dearer than some other regions who don't have discounts. So I'd just be interested to get some feedback from, I'm guessing perhaps Manager Searle or somebody would like to comment from the staff point of view as to why that would be the case.
Before we go,
Acting Mayor, if I may, I'll dispute the original premise of some of that conversation. Can we take that one as a question on notice and bring back a proper report? Because if you go anywhere on the coast, we are nowhere near them. Now, if you're talking about the Western Queensland councils, half of them don't have the infrastructure or the legislative approval in place to even charge a fee. So if you went out to a Western council, for example, they didn't go through the process to get the infrastructure fee charging regime, so they're prohibited to classing a fee. The reason that the infrastructure isn't, and also councillors, remember that any fee that we don't bring in this space, council has to fund out of another source to fund the capital. So anyway, yeah, would probably, rather than trying to give it an ad off the cuff answer, it'd be, council, if you're happy, we'll bring you back a full report on that one.
I'd love a full report, because it's really hard to, when someone makes those statements, it's really hard to know what to say, because I've got no evidence. So if we had the evidence and we could, say, well, this is why, that would be really good, because that's a bit of the talk was a bit of the talk in the room. Thank you.
the conversations I've had in regards to this hasn't worked. As Councillor Shoemaker said, it's done infill development and all that sort of stuff, but major development for residential, it hasn't brought it. And what they're telling me is the fact that they can't sell the land for a high enough price to make a profit. It's not viable. They're not blaming the council, because if you can't develop with these subsidies given to you, the margin is just not there. So I struggled to support this right at the word go, and it was a majority, and I went with the rest of the chamber, and I'm happy to work with it and do the best we possibly can. But the reason I believe that it's not happening is that they can't resell the properties at a high enough price to make that profit margin, make it viable, where they can do it elsewhere. Councillor Erkins?
Yep. Through you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that I found is that the majority of rental properties, and we are, really short on rental properties, is actually mum and dad investors. They're not big investors. They're mum and dad investors. And with the development, I do know that there is a number of blocks being developed in Nanango in 2 different estates, but it's to try and get some incentive. And as you said, it's about selling the blocks. And what you have in an area such as ours, with a lower, lower income for people, so it's the renters being able to afford to pay enough money to cover the costs of whoever it is that buys the land, builds the house, and comes on. So, I don't know how, but if we could look at even lobbying through state government that there was some more maybe tax breaks or something to encourage people to get back into that rental market, because what's happening, through the RTA, there are more rules and regulations gone in that restrict what a landlord can do and give more rights from a tenant's view, which, while I'm not saying that that's all is unwarranted, some of it is, but what happens is the regulations are making it that they also have to put different things in their houses and lift the standard of their houses, which is fine. But when you're looking at having a house that's affordable for someone to go into, or maybe having a standard of a house, and everyone's trying to lift the standard so for tenants it's a much better standard. However, the options are, if people can't afford to do it and it's not financially viable for them to do it, the options are for our community that they don't get that house and they're living in a tent. So, it's it's all very well to lift that standard and make sure that, in the house it has all these different facilities that government are now requiring them to do. But if you don't have the housing, and when we talk about community housing and putting that in, there is a big, there's a lot of competition for that money. And, we're probably pretty low on a priority, although we keep going and advocating for it. We wouldn't be a top priority on where they're going to put that housing. They would go to areas where there is much more demand for it than what we have here. And especially looking at the Olympics coming up, we're going to want to house everyone down there before they look to our area. I don't know the answer to it, but I can see a lot of the problems, and I just don't know. In some of our discussions and our workshops, I don't know how much the people who are on the front line, which is the real estate agents, are actually a part of those discussions. So, I'd like to see maybe a little more of that because, as I said, I don't know the answer, but I can see a lot of the problems, and I can see going to a lot of these discussions and forums that, sometimes they're not actually tackling the spaces they need to.
Want to reply?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones. Certainly don't disagree with you. You're right. We are competing with other regions. I've had real estate agents say to me, why would I develop a lot of land in Kingaroy when I can develop a lot of land in Highfields and make a much higher margin? These incentives give that developer a reason to consider it. It's not the only answer. Certainly there is much more work to be done, but I feel we have to do something, because if we don't, if we sit on our hands, if we pray and hope that something will change, it just simply won't. If we increase the number of lots in our region, the way I see it, we grow our ratepayer base, and this means that we grow our ratepayer revenue. And when we're 88% own source revenue, that means 88% of everything we spend through this council delivering core services comes from our ratepayers. That's pretty critical. I know this policy does come with some risk, yes, but I have had feedback, direct feedback from landowners who have actually done reconfigurations of a lot, who have subdivided properties. I have sat with real estate agents and listened to their feedback, and I can assure you that they have told me they would not be investing and they would not be progressing with those developments if it weren't for these incentives. That's got to be a positive thing. Fully supportive of the recommendation and desperately want to see more land opened up for our region so that we can house our growing population. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll go to the vote now. The recommendation is moved there by Councillor Shoemaker, second by Councillor Potter. The recommendation's there. We go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 18, nothing, 19. Oh, here we go. We've got over here.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, 17.5. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, Councillor.
Could I just ask a question on notice. Is it possible, our manager Brooks, if we can have come back, how many lots are actually being subdivided in the Nanango area? So not just those two major subdivisions, but there are a number of small acreage that are now, I know, have come through and they're going into 1 acre blocks. If we can just have that numbers come back in, because that would be interesting. Maybe we need to promote how many are coming up for sale.
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor. Yeah, no, we can certainly go back for the last 2 years or whatever, and yeah, well, I mean, we can give what's been approved, because that's all that we can do, and whether they're developed or not is beyond our control, I guess. But no, we can certainly go back for what's been approved in the Nanango area for you. Bring it back to a standing committee.
Thanks, Darryl.
Could we actually have that for the South Burnett? Like, or, you know, Kingaroy or our major townships, because we need to consider all of them, yeah.
Yeah, through Acting Mayor. Yeah,
I know you
we can.
track how many development
I mean,
incentives
yeah.
are actually given. Just,
Yeah, we can go back through, see what approvals have been issued for subdivisions, and and that give you some taste of, you know, what's coming across and what has been approved by council.
Yeah, just for clarification, it's not, I'm not, just to make sure that Councillor Shoemaker understands, I'm not looking at whether we've got them and you haven't, but I just know there has been a lot that have come through with that realignment with the bigger blocks in Nanango, and I know that there are 2 subdivisions, so just for us to know what blocks, but I agree right across, but I do know that those 2 are both the 2 residential subdivisions. They're like right on the way to being done, and then I also know that like that Heights Road one, there's 7 1 acre blocks. They're definitely working on them, so they won't be long and they'll be up and on the market. Thanks.
Righto, thank you. Thanks, Darryl. You'll bring that back at a later date. 17.5, application for funding under the Safe Places Emergency Accommodation Inclusion Round. And the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council endorse the application for grant funding under the Safe Places Emergency Accommodation Program to construct emergency accommodation for women and children experiencing family and domestic violence, FDV. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. Comments, questions? I think this is a very good initiative. If not, we'll go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, now we've got our late agenda items. Oh, so what? I'll bring them all forward. Okay, I'll move a procedural motion now that we move to deal with the late agenda items in this current meeting, and that will be items 10, 14 and 24. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henson, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Just get myself sorted here. Okay, item 10.6 on the late agenda items, portfolio, corporate governance, strategy, people, culture, communication, media, finance and sustainability, ICT, business systems, community representation, advocacy, 2032 Olympics and Paralympics. The officer's recommendation that this report be received for information. Do I have a mover? Councillor Erkin, seconder. Councillor Henson, do we have any comments or questions around this one? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 14.1, portfolio for disaster management, waste and recycling management. Officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council resolves 1, to adopt the draft waste strategy 24 to 29 as a guiding document for improved waste management and resource recovery practices, and 2, endorse a public consultation process in accordance with the Waste Reduction and Recycling Act 2011 for a minimum period of 28 days, and 3, prior to adopting the final waste strategy 24-29 at a future council meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Erkins. Comments? Councillor Shoemaker.
This is an enormous piece of work. It has started a number of really strategic, future-focused conversations in our region about how we're actually going to manage all that is waste in the years ahead. And I'm really excited to be able to take this out to the community and have some conversations with them about some of those key challenges and some of the initiatives we have in mind to address those challenges. General Manager Brooks, I was just keen to understand in terms of a communication strategy, what some of the things we can help promote to our community, sort of get involved and provide feedback on this. Are we going to do pop-up stations, or how are we actually going to communicate this information?
Yeah, through you, Acting Mayor, obviously we'll do media releases, we'll be doing some social media, we'll be writing to some of our key waste contractors who've got skin in the game, obviously. We're also looking at installing core flutes at some of our major facilities, just so the users there can, be aware that the draft plan is out for consultation. So that was probably going to be the nutshell of it, given other priorities and all that sort of stuff as well. So that's going to probably be the guts of the community consultation process.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly big conversations to be had, looking at the list of challenges with South Burnett actually acknowledging that we're running out of landfill space to manage residual waste. Challenge 2, and I know we've had feedback online about our waste transfer network, and acknowledgement of the distance and costs between the 17 facilities that we have. Challenge 3, data collection, actually making sure we're meeting the state government's requirements for the waste levy. Challenge 4, meeting compliance needs, which are certainly growing and increasing. And challenge 5, which I accept wholeheartedly and excited about what opportunities there may be in creating a circular economy from a regional point of view. Big challenges, enormous challenges for a region like ours to face. We've only a limited number of ratepayers to actually help fund the costs of addressing these challenges. And I think those open and honest conversations with the community are really important so that everybody is on the same page as we tackle this together. Thank you to the team for all of your work. I know we've had a couple of workshops, and this has certainly kept me awake at night, this issue, and I'm sure it has kept you awake also. So really looking forward to working with you and progressing some of those solutions. Thank you.
Councillor Potter.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to follow on from Councillor Shoemaker's comment. Thank you to Daryl and the team. Daryl, I know you've attended numerous meeting after meeting after meeting on both sides of the playing field with this one. So thank you very much for your help. I've attended a couple of those meetings via online. I did get lost a little bit, and to be quite honest, in some of the discussions, but it's really wonderful to see you there working with them, and thank you very much for bringing this to the table, to you and your team.
Thank you. And Councillor Duff.
I'm happy to endorse the go out for public consultation. I'm very keen to, as I mentioned before, to support those small rural communities that have those transfer stations and try and work out better solutions, ways that we can manage them, whether we look at putting fences around and having more swipe cards and things like that. So I definitely think it's what we need to be looking at, because at the current situation with all of the the unmanned stations being like abused, we need to look at it. So definitely think we need to have that go out to the community, see if we can get better outcomes. Thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any more comments, we've got the motion there, moved by councillor Potter, second by councillor Erkins. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. I'll now move that we move into confidential. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henson, all those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, I'd like to move that we now move out of confidential back into open general meeting, second by councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, we go to our first issue, 20.1, renewal of lease SB Care Incorporated. The officer's recommendation is that 1, the South Burnett Regional Council, in accordance with S2361C3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, enter a lease with SB Care Incorporated for a term of 2 years with 2 options to renew for an additional 2 years for $2,500 per annum plus GST and all outgoings including rates, fees and charges for part of Lot 6 on SP 274891, known as Kingaroy Town Common Hall, 10 Oliver Bond Street, Kingaroy. 2, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the lease between Council and SB Care Incorporated on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers satisfactory to Council. And 3, the South Burnett Regional Council provide a letter of support for SB Care to apply for future grant funding to upgrade the front access to PWD compliant access, purchase new chairs or equipment for the hall and install a shade awning at the front of the building, provided that A, SB Care obtains any necessary building, planning or other statutory approvals necessary for the works. B, SB Care must hold a minimum 20 million public liability, volunteer workers insurance and or work cover policy for the period of the works. C, all works must be carried out by suitably qualified and experienced contractors. The contractor must provide to the association copies of appropriate licences, work safe method statement or risk assessment to undertake the works. D, SB Care is responsible for the disposal of all rubbish and waste materials from the site and any associated commercial industrial tipping fees. And E, SB Care acknowledges that it will be responsible for all ongoing repairs and maintenance of the asset. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. Any comments or questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Just item 1, could we just add at the end of, with leave of the mover and seconder, I'd just like to acknowledge that the lease is for the use of the hall by the senior citizens group, so known as Kingaroy Town Hall, for use by the Kingaroy Senior Citizens Club Incorporated. If that's the right place to put it, yeah, I'd just like to have that acknowledged.
The mover and seconder, you happy with that little change? Okay, so it's all straightforward. Any other comments or questions before we go to the vote? Councillor Erkins.
I do have some concerns about this. I feel that building is a great community asset, and I just don't really agree with it going to one group. I feel it could be utilised by more than one group, and I do have concerns, which is why I don't feel that I can support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. And it is an open forum and you can express your views. So, okay, all done. We'll go to the vote. It's moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Duff. The recommendation motion is right there in front of you. We'll all go to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Shoemaker, Duff, Potter, Henson and Jones in favour. Against? Councillor Erkins. Vote carried 5 votes to 1. Okay, we move on now to the next one. And it's 20.2, future use of Adamant Park, Lot 488 on Crown Plan FY 2753. The officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council 1 to undertake community consultation to seek views on the future use of Lot 488 on FY 2753 from reserve for park and recreation to road reserve, and 2, that the outcomes from the community consultation be provided to a future council meeting. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded Councillor Duff. Comments, questions? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. $20.3 assessment. 30204/00000/000 payment plan. The officer's recommendation that South Burnett Regional Council delegate authority to the CEO to negotiate a suitable payment arrangement with the owner of assessment 30204/00000/00. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Unanimous. 20.4, request to remove assessment 22367/00000/000 from sale of land list. The officer's recommendation that South Burnett Regional Council 1 approve the payment plan of $340 per fortnight on assessment 22367/00000/000 and agree to remove the property from the current sale of land list. 2, no interest will be charged while the payment arrangement is being upheld. 3, should the owner default on the agreed payment plan, the payment arrangement will be cancelled as per the debt collection policy. And 4, if the payment arrangement is cancelled due to default, normal debt collection procedures will continue and may result in the property being included in the 2024 sale of land list. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded. Councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous. 20.5. Consideration for remission of rates, assessment 20111/00000/000 and 23970/00000/000. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council does not exceed to the request for a rate remission for rate assessment, as I've already said, effective from the 1st of July 2023, as it is not fully compliant with Council's policy. Do we have a mover?
No, point of order.
Yep.
We were going to add in the Green Hills Drive property actually be acknowledged.
Correct. Thank you very much for picking that up.
Yep. And
Well
then,
done.
the
Thank
other
you,
one
Councillor.
Doesn't. Yep.
So can we
proceed
add that, please, Tiana? I'd have got shot if I had went out there with that. Righto, so that's just, righto. So here we go. The officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council does not exceed to the request for a rate remission for rate assessment 20111/00000/000 effective from the 1st of July 23. It is not fully compliant with Council's policy and does exceed to the request for a rate remission for rate assessment 23970/00000/000 effective from the 1st of July 2023. We have a mover. Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. Thank you all very much. All those in favour? Unanimous. What was that one, T? We up to 25? Yep. 20.5, consideration for remission on... No, we've done that one. That one threw me. Getting close. 20.6, consideration for remission on rates assessment 14513/00000/000. Officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council does not exceed to the request for a rate remission for the property located at L178 RP 174261 and lot 179/180 FY93 as it does not fully comply with Revenue Policy 2324 Statutory 005. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Duff. Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. 20.7. Request for waiver of rates, Cumbria Tennis Association. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council waive rates, charges and interest to the value of $1,306.15 for the period of 1st of July 2022 to the 31st of December 2023 on assessment 12881/00000/000. Do we have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconded. Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Unanimous. Last one. One we've been looking for. 20.8. The South Burnett Regional Council 2223-135 purchase of PPE field uniforms. The officer's recommendation is that the council approves the recommendation to establish a 12-month supply arrangement for high visibility field uniforms with CA design and print. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff. Second to Councillor Shoemaker. Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you all very much for your participation. That brings to a close our general meeting for October. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Thank